BENCAST Spose episode.
Spose episode. How'd you get that name, Spose?
There's no cool story. But when I was like signed to a label, I used to make up stories because that was like a question I would always get asked.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, I was
It's my first question.
I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah, it's a terrible question. It's a fine question with a terrible answer.
I'm asking all the hard
But
questions.
I used to be like, I literally would go on radio, like on radio stations in cities, and I would be like, well, I have webbed feet. And so when I was in fourth grade, we started going swimming as a class, and obviously I had to show my feet.
Yeah.
And so these started calling me spork toes, and then spork toes became Spose.
But you have webbed feet?
No, none of that is true. None of that is
You're
true.
just making it up.
Yeah. Well, because it would be like to make Cam Groves laugh
Oh, okay.
at the radio, like what could I do? Because they ask a lot of the same dumb questions.
Is he the one that gave you the name?
No, I will say we had a kid named Christian Guild gave me the name, and I don't exactly know what the reasoning was, but we had to rap for like a project, or we had to do a song for a project where like, obviously we're going to rap.
Yeah.
And he was one of maybe 3 black kids in our school.
Okay,
so I was like, this
Maine.
is, I'm from Maine. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, obviously it's a cool name.
Well, you're not only from Maine. You're literally like, your pseudonym is that you're the King of Maine, right?
I am Maine.
Yeah. You are Maine.
I run Maine.
Arguably, you're like the coolest / most famous person from Maine, in my opinion.
I'd welcome the argument if you want to argue it.
I would argue that.
I could throw out a couple others who might be more famous than me. Anna Kendrick is from Maine.
Not more.
No, all right. I mean, if Anna Kendrick's not, then I'm out here.
Not to me. You're more famous to me.
Well, but also I'm the only one who like got kind of famous from Maine and stayed in Maine.
Yeah.
So I get all the love. You know, I'm there to receive all the love that Anna Kendrick would receive.
Yeah, dude. I remember like one of my favorite things ever was when I was visiting you, and then we like went down to that dive bar.
You can't in my office, and we went down to the pool hall bar. Right?
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and there was like 3 like toothless people in there, and they were all like, "Spose, hey, it's you!" And then they like put on "I'm Awesome" on the jukebox.
So awkward. This is a thing that's happened to. This is like a way people. I don't know if they're trolling me or paying tribute to me or both, but like commonly, if I get like recognized at a scenario like that, they will throw "I'm Awesome" on the jukebox because it's on Touch Tunes.
Yeah.
Actually, a bunch of Spose songs are on Touch Tunes, I guess. But you can play Spose at Waffle House if you're in a Waffle House. But I went on a date because I got divorced and started dating bitches. And I went on a
eloquently
date.
said.
I mean, I don't know how else we would phrase that. Women. And
yeah,
you bitches know I love you. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, men can be bitches too.
Men can be
Let's
bitches
clarify
too.
this,
I was
right?
on date. I could have dated a man bitch.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was out on a date, and it was her first, me and this woman. It was like a little thing. It didn't end up being whatever. But on that date, I was recognized as Spose, and they started playing "I'm Awesome" on the jukebox, and it was very awkward,
Yeah.
But I think I invited it by going on a date in the middle of nowhere, rural Maine. So
Yeah, dude. Do you ever get sick of people coming at you wanting like "I'm Awesome" from you specifically? Like, does that song haunt you for the end of time? Or even, and here I am asking you about it. Like,
no, it's a great. Does that song haunt you till the end of time? Yes, is the right answer. Is the answer
in
to
a
that.
good way or bad way?
In a both way, because it's kind of the gift and the curse, that song in the purest form, where.
Because just for the listeners, right? That one went onto the Billboard charts.
Yeah,
right?
it was a Billboard Top 40 song. It was number 34.
Yeah, this was like a
it's
massive
peak. It was a big hit. It was on all the radio stations and the world, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, and I ended up. It is the gift and the curse because that song became very popular in Maine on the radio, and then I ended up signing a record deal. The only problem was that song isn't exactly indicative of what I do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a corner of the box
of
Spose, of like what Spose music is.
Especially now that you've evolved.
Right. And even at that time, it was like, okay, well, I had already put out one album, and I was like, the people who know me are going to think this song's funny.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to get it, that it's
Yeah.
like a satire about the music industry.
Yeah.
Then I made the song and it got a whole life of its own and became kind of the only thing I'm known for, which is almost like comedy rap. Like it was received as like comedy rap,
Yeah.
which I thought of it as like satire, but a song isn't what you think it is. A song is what they think it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it became had a life of its own. So the good thing about I'm Awesome is it afforded me millions of opportunities, and I'm still here making music 15 years later because of it. Like I don't know, like I just got a shitload of money from that song, so I don't know if I would have had these opportunities had that song not blown up. However, I never really had a chance to like follow it up with like another single to be like, hey, I'm also like this, and I'm
Yeah.
also like this, and it's also kind of like indie alternative rock, rap, you know, whatever. So I'm Awesome, though it's like I'm thankful for the opportunities it's given me. I just wish I had the opportunity to be like, hey, I'm also this.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, this
But-
was like 15 years ago too. That
Yes,
song
yeah,
came
yeah.
out. So you were probably like what? How early 20s?
It's 23, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 23. I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And
then-
very broke.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
until that song starts making
Right.
you money, or you would at least think. Did it like how much money? Like, if you don't mind me
Oh,
asking.
I don't mind. Yeah, whatever. I'll answer anything, man. I mean, I will just say the day, like I signed a record deal for that with Republic
Right.
Records, and I signed, when it rains, it pours, and I signed a record deal, and then immediately I signed a huge publishing deal with Sony.
Yes.
And so between those two, it was like a $35,000 advance, which I didn't realize you could just be like, no. And they'd come back and be like, how about 100? And you're like, no. And they come back and they're like, how about a million?
Right.
But I was like, 35 G's.
Yeah.
I don't have any money. You know, I had insufficient funds in my Bank of America account trying to
Yeah.
get gas
Yeah.
after I'd already signed the deal. So like I'd signed the deal and I'm waiting on these checks to come in, like FedEx. They're FedEx checks.
Yeah.
These checks are so big, they got to be FedExed. And I was waiting on them and I was still poor. Yeah, this giant checks.
Okay. That's what I
And
imagined.
they were small. And even when I've deposited them, I remember being so pissed because they put a 10-day hold on the checks because it's like, there's no way this guy's really getting I don't know what it was, but it flagged the checks as like, these are too big. So right out the gate, I'd got basically $100,000, $110,000.
Yeah.
And I'd never had more than maybe, I don't know, $2,000 in my account before. So that was dope.
But then it's like, you know, with the advance, right? That's technically loan money.
It's
right?
it's an advance.
Yeah.
We will advance you this amount of money as long as you pay it back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the trick of the record industry is,
Of course.
and most artists, I don't know too many artists ever who I've met who are like rich to start. So the money is like a big trick to lure us all in because we're all like, yes, I would really like $110,000 right now. I'm fucking broke.
Yeah.
And so, can I swear on this? I assume
Yeah.
I can swear. This is us.
You can say anything you want.
Wow.
Anything.
Watch out. Watch out. I got thoughts. But you know, that's how they lure you into the music industry is, hey, here's a shitload of money. What
Yeah.
they kind of don't tell you is you got to pay it all back before they're going to give you any more.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I went 1 for 1 in the music industry. So I paid back that whole advance with Sony and Universal Republic within like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like I'd recouped 200 something G's pretty instantly because the song was huge. The song was so big. It was, and the timing, the era was the iTunes era. So to get a song, it was $1.29.
Way different times. Way different
As opposed to
times.
you stream it and it's 0.0034. So
Yeah.
yeah, crazy shit. I'm Awesome. Will always be like I said, like the gift and the curse, where it's like super stoked and thankful for the opportunity to reach people and show them something I could do. I spent the next like 14 years making nothing that sounded like that on purpose.
Yeah. Which is probably like, dude, like I could
Probably
imagine.
not business smart.
And it's like you probably did that because, and you know, this is just me assuming, like, but you probably
You
did
know
that.
me.
I assume because you were fighting the fact that you didn't want to get pigeonholed into that other thing. So,
Right.
and if that wasn't the case, you may have been more open to like making more songs like that.
Right.
Weirdly, right?
I would have been super open to making more I'm Awesome style songs if that song hadn't been so popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to think about.
Yeah.
And even my second most popular song is this song "Greatest Shit Ever," which maybe is the closest thing I ever made to "I'm Awesome."
Yeah.
Like it's funny and fun and upbeat and major chords and and that's part of me. That's like part of my personality. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm funny and I'm maybe funny or like joking with my friends or like whatever. So that's part of it, sure. But like I don't think that's like the only thing I am. So I was like
Yeah.
trying so hard to be like, I'm this other stuff too. I'm a serious rapper. I am musically diverse. I am, trying to like, and, to a certain small group of people who follow me, they know that.
Yeah.
But
of
like
course.
the average person,
Yeah.
I mean, well, I would say the average person has never even heard "I'm Awesome" if you really think about the population of Earth. It's like it has
just everybody in Maine has heard
everybody
it.
in Maine and
100%
maybe
of everybody in Maine
maybe
heard.
like Seacoast, New Hampshire has heard "I'm Awesome."
Yeah. But no, that is interesting to think about. And
Well, it'd be like if you were known, like it's just like if you were known for like this like coffee cup you made, but you're like, well, I also do music videos. And like I also do, and it's like, okay.
Like the weirdest thing to go viral.
They're like, sure, but can you do the coffee cup?
Yeah. I saw that you recently posted like a throwback, sort of in that same similar lane of music, right?
The video, yeah. So the video I released was for "Greatest Shit Ever," which is my second most popular song. But we'd filmed the video 10 years ago, and you as a video director can maybe relate to this feeling of we went to film that video and like 3 or 4 or 5 of the the actors we had for it day of like bailed and we had to rethink the whole video from scratch and like make up a video with like what we had. And so I always had a bad taste about it. And then, the edit, I don't know. I just wasn't, I just like, I don't know. And I never put it out. But then like 10 years later, I was like, I should probably let this loose.
Yeah.
And I actually had just asked ChatGPT to analyze my streaming data. So I like put a spreadsheet into, I know there's a lot of people who hate AI, but like I've been using it.
I mean,
it's almost like trying to me, the AI haters is like trying to sweep the ocean back into the ocean. It's like, okay,
so
I got you.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's like, it's not going anywhere.
And it's a tool, and it's, I don't think using it to analyze your data. I'm not a data analyst. And my music's royalties arrive in a like 80-page spreadsheet that I don't understand. So like I put that into ChatGPT and it analyzed my music earnings. And I did not realize until that "Greatest Shit Ever," the song, is way ahead of all my other songs. Like I thought it was like, oh, this song and that song and this song are like, they're like, no, that one's getting like double the stream. So I was like, I should probably put that video out, if it's already pleasing the people. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing to for me that I have been received. There's just so much data and information available to us as artists.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if we know how to use it to our advantage. And I think shout out to AI, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using it every chance I can get. They got all tools. I mean, and what's really a little for me as a video maker, it was a little creepy at first to know that like Sora existed and like people were able to just be like, just show me an alien dancing on a refrigerator, and it like just like did it, and it looked
and
like
you would have
good.
spent weeks frame by framing, or like a week frame by framing this whole scene with purchasing clips.
Then it's like, you start using you just got to get ahead with it. And then it's like, once you start using it, you realize like, oh, I can cut out so much of the stuff
workflow
I was doing that I didn't want to do before.
I almost hit you up because I have I filmed I don't know if you saw my last album cover, but it's me with like knives in my back. And and so I filmed that, but in order to have those knives, they're suspended.
That's what could go wrong.
What could go wrong?
Right?
The album, and to have those knives suspended at the photo shoot, we had like fishing wire on them, so they're hanging up. And we filmed like a video that day of me like performing one of the songs while the knives are in me. And I just haven't been able to use the clip because you can see the fishing wire, and I don't know how to like content aware fill like you could do in Photoshop to like take it out. And I almost hit you up to be like, is there AI video tool that would do this? So
yeah. I mean,
I'm sure there is.
There is. And like that specific case, I don't know what I would recommend because
What would you do?
I would do it in Photoshop still, and then
Oh, really?
and then track it in.
Track in a frame and then
Currently, right now, in this current at this
Yeah.
current moment in time, that's what I would do. But that's
Okay.
probably going to change next week. You know
yeah,
what I
right,
mean?
right. It's changed super fast.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, you're who I think of when I think of manipulating video.
Yeah.
You know,
Good,
you're pretty
cool.
good at it.
Yeah. I've done some manipulations for better or for worse.
But your shit you've been doing crazy shit since we last linked up a couple years ago, because you linked up with this other dude, I think. I don't know his name, but you're doing a lot of like post-production shit with him, maybe?
Oh, Andrew, you're probably talking about Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew
I've
DeLeo,
never
yeah.
met him, but like I've followed the stuff and you've been able to do some insane stuff that
Yeah,
looks like it's maybe
dude.
beyond what you were capable of before and After Effects. And
Andrew, shout out Andrew. He's like my 3D guy. So he's doing everything that's related to Blender or Unreal Engine. Really.
Okay, yeah.
So which are, you know, for those that don't know that, it's like a 3D specific software where you can kind of like almost like create like SimCity, like an
Create a
environment.
3D world and you can almost run a camera through it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what he can do.
You've used it a lot for the K-pop videos, and I love
Yeah.
watching the side-by-sides of the
Yeah.
like what you filmed versus what it ends up being.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that stuff.
I gotta post more of that because it's just one of those things where it's like we have that for every video.
Right. Right.
I gotta go back and start
It's
going.
like
crazy.
almost one of the biggest struggles as like, I guess I would consider, you're an artist, you know,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
I don't know if that's a term you use to describe
Yeah.
yourself, but you're an artist. And it's like, I really struggle with like how much, like I have way more content than I have posted.
Mm.
You know, like I have so much access. I have unfathomable, you know, SD cards and hard drives of like everything ever. But like spending my hours going through that, finding the clips, editing the clips, putting the captions on it, posting on Instagram. It's like, is that a valuable use of my time?
Right.
I don't know. You know, it's honestly one of the things that fucking sucks about being an artist and always has is you never wake up and somebody's like, this is what you should do today to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like, this is what you could do to reach more listeners, or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the positive is I don't like go to an office
Yeah.
or something, you know, but
No,
like,
there's so many positives, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, I'm lucky in that I get like held accountable to just constantly do stuff by other people and other artists, you know?
Yeah.
Because mainly I'm like, I do create for myself like right now. And I was actually just going to ask you, did we format that card? We didn't, right? Is that bad?
you gotta start over.
It should have plenty of room? All right. I just want to make sure because
Yeah.
that's like a real time thing when you said like the format the card.
The
thing.
only
I was
camera we
like,
got to this
oh,
one.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
Welcome to the
thinking live
BENCAST.
time.
I'm Spose, your host.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are, I guess, the other artists you basically like get commissioned by, kind of dictate what you wake up in the day and do, knowing that there's a paycheck. on
Yeah.
it.
I have somebody constantly being like, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Constantly.
Right.
So it's sometimes I need that.
I do too, but it's just my kids.
Yeah.
Just like, can we do this? Can we go to Smitty's?
Oh, your kids are probably getting up there in age these days, right? Like,
Yeah.
How old are they now? You got,
My oldest kid is 16, so she's like a woman.
yeah, that's
You know,
crazy.
I come downstairs and there's just a woman
Yeah.
at the table, and she's great, but she's 16, so that's a whole new era for me. And I'm, you know, I don't know how other parents feel, but like I don't think you ever know what you're doing as a parent. You're just like,
Yeah.
it's
That's
like
what they say.
it's like, hey, we're throwing a ball at you. You better catch it, you know, or like whatever. And so she's 16, and then I've got a 11-year-old girl, and the twins turn 10 next week. So
Sick.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So they're all
Yeah, they're not
kids
They're
anymore,
not kids.
like, really.
What?
well. The
I guess they're
twins
kids,
kind of
but
are,
like
10 is basically you're a little adult at that point if you're.
think of you. What do you think of when you think of like your 10-year-old self? Because I have a really good memory of it, or like I remember it pretty vividly. I feel like I was like forming into who I am.
I was a lot more shy back then. That's for
Were
sure.
you?
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
do
I don't
any artsy creative
Oh
stuff
yeah.
or like?
Oh yeah. I was
Yeah.
always a like I did drawings,
Okay.
which I've, by the way, noticed that you're doing more and more of. You're amazing
Thanks, man.
at painting.
Thanks, man. That's
Incredible.
that
And
was last couple years like experiment, I guess I would call it, to see if I could be a painter, to see if I could paint. And I never was very good as an artist as a kid. Like I'd draw a lot. But I remember like the day in third grade when I saw somebody who was actually good at drawing, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well,
I'm like doing lines.
I consider myself actually good at drawing.
Yeah,
Like,
dope.
I actually minored in college in art, like drawing art.
Wow,
stuff,
I didn't know that.
which is a fun
I
fact.
did do one semester of art school
Yeah,
at Suffolk when I transferred there to be a graphic designer. But to be a graphic designer, they're like, first you must sketch naked people and still lifes and stuff
right, yeah.
with charcoal and stuff. And so I did 6 months of that, but that's the only art training I ever had before the day I started trying to teach myself to paint.
Yeah,
And I think maybe from my music career, I was trained, and maybe anything else I've ever done in my life, I just knew that like, if I wanted to get good at painting, it was going to take like 9 to 5 months in a row.
yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I had just got a shitload of money, to be honest. I had just got a bunch of money and I was like, all right, I'm going to take January and February and just paint. And the way I taught myself to paint was painting my album covers. And by the time I got to March, I was painting other shit. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at painting, which is dope.
Which album covers did you paint?
So I did all 9 of the albums I had out at that time, and then I sold them.
That's sick.
Yeah, they were. It's kind of cool. I have pictures of it, but like you can see the progression from the first album to the last one. Obviously, I mean, and they were just, I don't know, they're like 12 by 12s.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot. I was doing like the fourth, maybe Peter Sparker album, which is my fourth album, and I did this thing where I like mixed up I took gray, I made a couple grays, like various grays, and I took them on the palette knife, like not completely mixed together into one gray, but like you could see all the different grays. And I just like swiped it on the canvas and I was like, that felt good, and it was like, oh, at this point, I'm not posting any of it. I'm not showing anybody. And I was like, oh, I just made myself happy, without any external validation.
Yeah, that's what's great about it.
That's like the greatest feeling. I actually,
it's beautifully meditative to do any kind of art like that, because it's just you and a piece of paper and what you're doing, and you can kind of really just flow into this state of.
I got really into it.
Pure concentration.
Well, and after when I was like getting divorced the last couple of years, I started doing therapy. Because I was really depressed and I was really going through it. And in the middle of doing therapy, my therapist was like trying to coach me through all these ways to like feel good or like to, or whatever, like, and then one of those days I just felt I had like an experience and I felt super inspired and I wrote a song. And I wrote it's a song called Blanket. I wrote this song in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, great song.
Thank you. And I wrote this song and I recorded it. I recorded, pretty much what you hear on the record, except for I put live drums on it. And I recorded it all and I went in the car and I put it on Dropbox so I could like hear it on the Bluetooth speakers. And I'm like driving, listening to it. And I was so stoked for the first time in like 9 months. And I was like, I like texted my therapist. I was like, I think I just made myself happy. It's like without any sort of, and so I've learned that like you can manufacture these feelings that like for me, I'd always kind of like crowdsource from attention.
Yeah.
Like if I post, and then I think as an artist, a lot of especially for me where I'm Awesome was like right out, I'm Awesome got like 1 million views in a day.
Yeah.
So I'm Awesome was like the biggest thing is still the biggest thing I've ever done.
Right.
And so everything since then has not like given me that feeling, because it's like, I know I'm capable of that. So 30,000 views isn't going to make me happy, or whatever. Basically like that's like a tolerance to a drug or something,
Yeah.
And so I've really tried to find these ways like painting or the way that I could make a song and not even put the song out, but just play it for myself in the car and feel joy. I guess, which is
Yeah.
what we're all, I
Yeah.
think, searching for. And so it's been kind of really informative to me to just figure out like, oh, the most, like I have the like, the gasoline like inside me.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's so much art that I've personally made that no one's ever seen and no one will ever see probably.
Right.
It's just for me.
And it made you, I don't know, happy or feel accomplished, or you learned something new, or
Yeah.
um
Or just one person likes it, maybe,
yeah,
is enough. Depending on what it's for,
Even if I just, we're so like, as an artist, I guess I'm so fragile, like, or I'm so swayed by people's opinions. If I just like play something for somebody and they're like, oh, it sounds like this, and I don't like what this is, or like whatever,
yeah.
I will
hate that.
I'll maybe never put it out. I'll throw that away right then. And it's like,
That's the worst thing ever when people are like, sounds like this person.
X
And it's
reminds
like,
me of
oh.
this. And it's like, okay, well, now I never want to. And so that is to say, like, it's really nice to just make it for not to say make it for yourself, but to make it and feel good about yourself without another person involved.
Yeah.
Is cool. And my paintings, to be honest, I was way happier about my paintings before I did an art show after like 2 years, a year and a half of painting. I did an art show and I sold some of them. And that like soured it for me a little, because it was like, oh, now I'm open to the judgment and you guys are saying this one's worth the most, but I thought it was this. I thought all these or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I don't know,
as we do.
Yeah, just to detach from like commercialism when I started doing the paintings was really nice to just be like, oh, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
I feel stoked.
Yeah.
I put it on the wall.
And sometimes it helps too, like at least for me, I don't know, maybe this is true for you too, but like I look at sort of music videos, I guess, is kind of has been my main career.
Right.
And then that's what people mostly see and know me for. And then,
Mhm.
So when I go and do other stuff, like if I dabble in music or if I'm like, painting a painting or something,
Mhm.
that's just it's okay for me for that to be a hobby and
Right.
like go nowhere.
Well, and it's freeing because it's not compared to all your music videos you ever did.
Yeah.
Right, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that was it for me, is my music has been such the barometer of like how good I am as a person.
Yeah, no.
Well, I know that's wrong, but like,
Yeah.
I think if you asked a bunch of artists, like you really feel like I'm as good as how many people liked this most recent video I put out.
Yeah.
Or I'm as good as the most popular song I made, or I'm as good as how many tickets I sold to my tour. And it sucks. Like that sucks. So for me, when I started painting, it was like, oh, there's nobody else involved.
This is reminding me of this like amazing quote from Dali that I can't remember, and like I would need to look it up to get it right, so I'm going to misquote it. But basically, he said, I'm so much more than my paintings. Like I'm a energy force. Like like I should find I'll pin the real quote to the.
Yeah, that's another thing is like energy. Like I didn't realize much about that. I'd never thought much about that until said therapist, who's kind of cuckoo, but she was like,
you got a crazy therapist.
I really did. She told me 9/11. She told me,
oh no,
on 9/11, because I'm doing therapy on 9/11, like video, whatever.
Yeah.
And she told me 9/11 was an inside job, which possibly. And then she goes, all the planes were CGI, which absolutely not.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard
and I
no.
tried to like press her on it, and she was like, no, that is real. She was in the military. She knows.
You should have been like, I was there.
Bro, I posted it on my Instagram story, and I was like, my therapist says all the planes on 9/11 are CGI, and it was a poll, and I was like, get a new therapist or let her cook, and let her cook won. So I stayed with her. But she was the first one to ever talk to me about energy and like your kind of vibrational thing, and I kind of buy it. I kind of buy that stuff. And it's like, you almost like attract what you believe about yourself and what you put out. And so I started believing and repeating and saying, almost like manifesting that a positive outlook on myself without anyone else's validation. And so like, that's kind of been like my new journey in life, I guess.
It's amazing.
But I think energetically, you attract what you put out. And so I'm trying to put out fucking good vibes, you know, and like,
Yeah. It's the law of attraction.
yeah, I think so.
It's the secret.
Yeah. And I wasn't aware of it. But I think sometimes when you're young and naive and ignorant, you accidentally attract those things. I think as I get older, it
Yeah.
becomes more intentional. You need to intend to do it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Intention is huge.
Yeah.
I was talked about that with Sip.
That was a crazy episode.
Yeah, yeah. His story's nuts, but yeah, man. No, I think about that stuff a lot. I think about it a lot all the time. Actually, probably too much. Maybe even. Maybe I need a therapist.
It doesn't
It's
hurt,
a good
man.
thing to think about, though, when you have this thought in your head that says everything's going to be good, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to work out. That energy is so powerful.
It's certainly going to help it actually be all right.
Yes.
Well, and I think you also affect the people around you with your energy, obviously. You know, like obviously somebody with negative energy is going to make everybody else in the room a certain way. But I think for me, a few times in my life, I've ended up in leadership roles through my music career, whether I'm doing like a big show or I do a big like Christmas show and there's, I don't know, 20, 30 people involved and I'm the leader. And someone pointed out that like, it's always like up to the last minute kind of chaos getting it all together, but I'm calm.
Yeah.
So everybody else is calm. You know, it's like if you look to the leader and the leader's like stressing out, you know, it's like,
it's hugely important.
I think it's an important thing that I guess I never like realized about myself, but I really do. I don't know. I think it's just like, try to stay chill. And I think it helps people.
I relate to that because
you must be in the same position.
I'm a leader on set, I guess.
Right.
When you are inside of a chaos moment, you all of a sudden can realize sometimes like, oh, this is my responsibility right now, and like, and then you could either freak out or you could you know.
Well, and I think that kind of decides who succeeds at certain things. Is like if you're
totally
if you crack under chaos, you're toast.
Yeah. So I've always like tried to like, you know, I always manifest and put forward that's my strong point, that I can, you know, not crack under chaos.
Having been on sets with you, and I think having done a bunch of music videos with a bunch of different people, it is like you do kind of steer the ship in the energy of the whole day where like I've been on shoots before where the director's really stressed out and like sweating and like, it's okay to sweat. Like obviously sometimes you're gonna sweat, but like they're uncomfortable and it makes everyone else uncomfortable and you almost just want the thing to be over. And I think it makes the thing worse.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Oh, 100%. Well, you got to go with the pivot with the motion of the ocean or whatever.
Right. Well, especially in music videos, it's like something's going to go wrong and you got to be ready to adapt. Like the sun goes behind the clouds or the, you know, whatever it is. So
I'm like almost
you're a big
expecting
adapter.
things to go wrong. And then like also like training myself mentally to just be able to make decisions really quick.
Right.
You know, because that's all directing is really.
I think I've learned from my experience dealing with you and other people who do kind of like really established like good directors is like they'll figure some shit out with like a camera if you have to. Like you'll do some shit with just whatever tools you got. It's you don't require this gigantic
you don't need
operation. However, if you have it, you know how to use it and you can use it to your.
The amount of times I've used a chair as a tripod.
Right.
A lot.
Right. Well, I mean, even me, it's like I'm like, I don't know, like I'm just throwing my own captions on the video and like I'm not like there's no like I'm just a guy trying to navigate it, you know. So
yeah. Well, now you got AI.
Now I got AI, bro.
Now we can just you don't need to throw any captions anymore. The Oracle has you.
I got v.io on my phone. It's over. Yeah, it just.
I want to talk about your music now.
Please.
It's sick.
Thank you.
And my favorite version of your music has been, but you've been working with essentially like, is it fair to call it a punk kind of like ska kind of punk
I wouldn't
band?
take ska,
Maybe
but like punk,
ska.
like alt rock,
yeah,
maybe like band.
Yeah, alt rock.
Yeah, I've done some
punkish
punky
feel.
stuff. Like
yeah, And these guys are incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to like the music scene in Maine. It's like,
Yeah.
I could get like essentially like a super group
Yeah.
of guys maybe you haven't heard of, but I certainly have.
And
like,
you have done that.
Yeah.
And they're and these guys are incredible. And like, you know, Grammy awarded and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've done
isn't
Dave Gutter just won a Grammy, and he has been in my band for a couple years, you know,
Yeah.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And we've toured the country or whatever. But I think, you know, when you go out on tour with a band, you almost feel like a band, you know? And so
Yeah,
like
it's hype.
we got in, you know, because we're playing Spose songs. It's like we're playing songs that I'd already written, and then we're making our band versions of them.
But that's what makes it sick, because
Yeah.
you're fusing two genres, really. Because you're
Right.
taking rap, essentially, and then you're fusing it with this, you know,
Right.
indie rock, whatever, can't even be defined sound.
I don't know how, well, that's always been a problem with Spose as a brand, is like, I can't break it down to you in a sentence.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a rapper from Maine.
That's the best problem ever, though.
I
That's
guess
not
so,
that's
yeah.
not a problem.
It's like a marketing problem.
It's a great, I don't know.
I do think I posted a video and someone was like, I always love to introduce people to your music by showing them I'm awesome, and then showing them like 2 other songs that they're like, wait, this is the same person. But it is to say, we're not all I'm not like, you're not the same vibe all day, every day. Like, you're going to be different. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be whatever. And my most recent maybe 2 or 3 albums, kind of since the We All Got Lost album, which I did the video with you.
Yep. And I had met Dave on that.
And you met Dave Gutter there.
Yeah, met the band, the whole band.
Since that era, I feel like been on a quest to be my most authentic self, I guess. And my most authentic self might not be rapping over rap beats. It might not be over boom bap. Sometimes it might be, because I did grow up listening to that, but I also grew up listening to the Smashing Pumpkins and Weezer and Rage Against the Machine, and like, that's a part of me. And so I think the music as I've got older has actually gotten closer to like younger me.
Yeah.
Before I was trying to, honestly, this is kind of like nobody has the attention span for like a long story or like a movie length like thought at this point. But my 2021 album, except old people. Old people lock in.
Yeah.
Go check out my album, Get Rich or Die Right. This album I made I made it during the pandemic, and it's a double album. It's disc 1's a rock album, which I think scared away a lot of fans because it's aggressive. It's wild right out. It's true. It's authentic, but it's like, it was not safe, you know, out the gate. And then disc 2, which artistically I like. And then disc 2 is a rap album. And disc 1 is the story of Ryan, who I am as a human. And then disc 2 is the story of Spose. Spose being a superhero identity I created because Ryan wasn't good enough. And then you get to the end, in my mind, and then you get to the end of disc 2, start in the middle of disc 2, shit starts to fall apart because like, oh, superhero me can't even feel good because he's not good enough. Because, you know, and then you realize that like, if you never kind of like deal with your inner child or whatever, you're never going to be, no matter how much you're fronting or like could achieve success as a pretend thing, you're never going to feel good till you like address what was the initial issue. So that's what that album is. And it also was like a musical journey back to like my past to make this type of, so I went to every corner of the Spose box that I'd never been before to make this like, I don't know, aggressive rock music, you know? And that's
so cool, man.
I'm just like, I think the best thing about that is like around that time, a lot of rap artists started kind of like Machine Gun Kelly or whatever, started shifting to this kind of like, theirs was like a pop punk sound, which maybe is authentic to him or whatever. But like, I was ready for this because I am authentically that. I really was at those shows. I really did have a guitar. I really did, you know, I was in a band before I was a rapper. So that album really allowed me to kind of try everything I wanted to try because it's a double album. You make fucking 27 songs.
Yeah.
And then since then, I feel very free to just be whatever I feel on a certain day. And the most recent album has a lot of that.
When you're like in the studio, are you sort of self-producing a lot of this stuff?
A lot of it, I'll pretty much make the song myself before I go in. Because I can like track out all the guitars unless it's some. I'm like, I'll put in a shitty solo, and then I'm like, hey, Dave Gutter, great guitarist, do a better. When we go in the studio, do a better solo. Or once you get in the studio, cool things can happen. Unique, because it's bouncing off all different people's thoughts and ideas. So like the song can go from something to something crazier, but like a song like Sieve, which Sieve, like Colander, that song, I pretty much tracked out that song exactly as it is in Logic myself, and then just brought it in and we replayed it as like a band live on the floor, and that's what you hear on the record.
It must be so cool to hear to see it level up from what you were doing, and then start to feel the collaboration of other people come in this way that positively affects it, or maybe sometimes negatively affects it, right? Has that ever happened? Where you've been like, I actually don't like what you just did.
Sure, but I think you have, but like that, I think most of the time, and I'm sure you could probably relate to this, you tend to continue working and collaborate and bring in people who you like their ideas.
Right. Yeah.
It's like if it's confrontational or it's weird or it's whatever, but I'm open to experiment. Like, try that. Let's try that.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does. And that certainly happens sometimes. Like, try the solo. He's like, I want to try the solo reverse through this thing. I'm like, all right, let's try that. But what I really wish I could have done more in my life is the real magic is like when you kind of write it as a band.
Yeah.
So like we go in with nothing, or I come in with, for example, we have this song called World War Blues that I play a lot. It's like a political, it's basically like it sounds like almost like David Bowie. I don't know what it is, but it's on, that beat only exists because we were jamming out and Dave did something weird. And then Kyle started doing something and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I took that demo that I recorded it on my phone. Like, dude, this sounds cool. I think I called it like Crack Sabbath or something. There's some stupid, like, I don't know what it was. It sounded like weird classic rock.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I like started like kind of coming up with a flow over it. I brought it to them in the studio the next day because we were in the studio again. And I was like, I think I came up with a song idea for that like thing you guys were playing last night. And then we shape a song around that. And that's really special because that's everybody's ideas are the only way this exists.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have come up with that.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that shit. And even like when a producer sends you a beat, like I couldn't have come up, I can't make that beat.
Yeah, no.
I can produce.
Collaboration is huge.
I actually, funny enough, have produced my top like 3 songs. But I still don't think of myself as like a
But they're not your favorite songs.
Well, I mean, financially they are, but no, yeah, I think I love getting beats from producers, and in a lot of producers, I mean, maybe every rap artist can relate to this, but they'll send you beats that they think you're gonna like because they sound like shit you've already made, but like you don't want to make shit that sounds like shit you already made, right? So I always tell producers, I'm like, send me shit you don't think I would like.
Yeah,
and sometimes you get cool stuff out of that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, my thing I've been doing or been trying to do is surround myself with people who collaboratively, who are optimistic people as opposed to cynical,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so important. Like, because I've been definitely have, worked with some people that have sort of been poo-pooed ideas, like those types of people.
It's not fun. And I've actually said this about you to other people because I have worked with video directors and people in the past in all different fields who are like, that's not possible. They're almost just like that. You bring some idea you're enthusiastic about and they're like, no. Or they try to logic you as to why it's not possible.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever worked with somebody who was like, all right, all right, let's try that. Or like, it's like that changed everything for me because it was like, oh, I don't have to. It's almost like if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're always like trying to correct you or change you. And then you finally you're around somebody who's like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Dope. It's like, okay.
I like what you're doing.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, you like me?
Yeah. What? And so, yeah, it's not fun to, and I do think one of my skills is I guess surrounding myself with people who are good vibes and not dramatic or negative or create problems and like, I don't know. It's like you only have so much tolerance for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have no tolerance for it. Like if somebody,
Same.
like it doesn't matter how talented you are. Like I've met people who are maybe some of the most like out the box and talented people I've ever met. But if you're like a diva and obnoxious to work with, and I got to send 35 text messages compared to the one text message I got to send to this other guy, I'm calling the other guy.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like the skill, the talent is not as important as being easy to work with.
Absolutely not.
You know,
absolutely not. Because you can always, even if somebody doesn't have as much of a talent right out the gate, you can work with them to kind of develop,
get them there.
You know, what needs to work for to be compatible with what you're doing, and that's just so much better any day than to be stuck basically working for somebody else, because that's kind of what happens. You know, I mean, ultimately, then you start, you know, if you get caught up with a person like that who's trying to tell you everything that's not going to work, then you're like, okay, well, then what is going to work for you? And then
you end up in their parameter, in their box.
And then all of a sudden it shifts over.
Yeah.
The amount of times this happens to, you know, is too many.
But those people, I will say, those people, and I'm sorry if anybody watching is one of those people, they weed themselves out. They disappear. They're not around still.
Yeah.
You know, or they're on the, you know, they usually find their way out. And I've even found that with like aggressive competition in like rap or like people who have shit to say. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Say, okay, go off, because I know you're gonna be your own demise in a way. It's like the competition just sees themselves out.
Yep. It's 100% true, man. Dude, I gotta tell you, like, back to the, you know, your music evolving and everything, because I just want to talk about that so much. But for me, I was a Spose fan.
Yeah.
Like way before.
That's how we connected.
Way before I met you. 2010.
Wow.
You know.
Because you heard I'm Awesome, or you
I heard I'm Awesome, and then branched off, and then, you know, I listened to the whole your
first
whole
album.
catalog at that point. And I specifically had this friend, Paul Bailey, who was like your biggest fan in the world.
Shout out Paul Bailey.
So he really put me on, and then like was like rapping all the lyrics and everything while we were shooting this movie. And so you were like playing on set, like when I was shooting my movie and stuff like that. And then like when it came back around, I think we met actually through Token, I want to say. Is that correct? Or you were at a Token show? Or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, no, we met at a Token show. We met because Token was a Spose fan.
Yeah.
And wanted to perform I'm Awesome, or wanted me to perform I'm Awesome, and he wanted to hype man, which he did very well. And as you might expect. And we met at that show,
Yeah, but so the reason I say all this is because what was crazy for me is then once we got to this point where you're like, hey, I'm going to send you some music. Like, let's talk about doing a video.
Yeah.
What you sent me, the first thing you sent me was Humans.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? I was like, this is totally different than what I thought I was about to hear. You know what I mean?
Right, because I think those first kind of 3 albums, maybe I'd branched out a little bit, but you kind of got the gist of what Spose was. It's like Wells, Maine, rap.
Yeah. Well,
you know, whatever. But in Humans is essentially a commentary on humans in general over like a David Bowie.
It's just the most like, I feel like
beat.
It's very experimental and very sick.
I fucking love that song.
I love that song too.
We should play it right now.
Yeah.
Humans.
And man, like we talked about doing that video and then never did. I still kind of want to. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you had told me that I would do that video, bro.
Dude, we should.
I would do that video anytime because I still believe in that.
Let's do it with AI.
AI, please make those songs. Yeah, it would be a lot cheaper now than all the prosthetic makeup you were gonna make. You told me you had a whole treatment. You're gonna make everybody into animal, like an animal family. Like it's like a fox family living in like a house, and they're scared outside because the humans are coming, and that's
yeah. Well, don't say it was my treatment. I feel like this was your treatment, really.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember.
No, you had a whole treatment.
Okay. I do come in with treatments.
Yeah.
Well, I think
do.
I come in anything I'm doing. I try to at least, and I'm open to better ideas, but I always try to be like, maybe this or this or this.
Yeah, I probably gave a lot of ideas, and that's probably why you're like
Maybe.
you had a treatment, but no, that was you that had the treatment. But
yeah, by
I was like,
humans,
this treatment is amazing.
By I think it was 2017, and Humans is actually off an album I made in one day.
Yeah,
so that was a crazy reality. I mean, hearing it is I made
a second.
That album, which is also called Humans,
right,
was made in one day. I want to say it was October 6th, 2017. 10 a.m. to the next morning.
Yeah.
And Humans was, because the rule for, I made a bunch of parameters for this.
Yeah.
And I had like 30 musicians I invited. I was like, just come through. We're making an album in a day. And like, come in.
I love
and
it.
this was another example where I tried to just invite people who are good vibes. So like, there's talented people I didn't invite because they're fucking annoying, or they're going to piss somebody off, or they have beef with this person. And one of the I had a bunch of rules on the wall, and they were like, the only bad idea is no idea.
Yeah.
You know, like toss out your ideas. Like, let's try whatever. And one of the first ideas I tossed out was the pre-chorus and the chorus of Humans. I was like, I have this idea for a song, and I want it to be like, I don't know. I've always loved this song. I was like, I want it to be like Modern Love by David Bowie. I fucking love that song. It comes on, I get hype.
I mean, how do you not love David Bowie?
Yeah, I love David Bowie. And actually we had been in a huge David Bowie era like that whole year. And so I was like, I want it to be like Modern Love by David Bowie. And all I have is lions and tigers and bears. There's only one thing that's got them all scared: humans. And that was all I had. And I told this to like Dave Gutter, John Roods, a bunch of other great musicians. I think Dan Boyden was playing the drums. And I went on to do other stuff. I went into other rooms at this, because it's a big studio.
Yeah.
And I went into these other rooms. I was working on all these other songs. And I circled back, and they were like, how's this? And they like played me the track. And I was like, this is it, you know? And
it's
so,
done.
and I mean, and even there's like a,
I love that song.
Thank you, man. I love that song too. And we performed that. That song remains like one of my favorite things I've ever made, and something I do still play live whenever I can. I even did a version of it at my Christmas show last year where I had dancers. I'd like hired a great choreographer I know, Hannah Ranko, to be like.
I met
do you know
her
Hannah?
as well.
You met Hannah. Hannah was in
she was on the
Metal Band video. Yeah. So I hired Hannah, and that was the first day I'd ever met Hannah, was the Metal Band video. So I hired Hannah because I'd seen her choreography and other stuff, and I was like, hey, I have like a loose story arc. Here's 5 songs. Could we try to make some sort of something? And the first one was Humans that we did. And she did such a great job, like kind of conveying what I've always been trying to convey with that song, where she's like, the dancers are like scared of the human, in a way. And so, so that's wild, actually, that was the first one I sent you.
Yeah, well, that was like the first new Spose that I had heard since, 2012, whatever, older times.
Yeah.
So that was like a shock to my system, because I remember being like, oh my God, this is
different.
And the fact that it was different was so exciting to me.
Someone one time, a writer named Sam Feifel, who's in Maine and has written about my stuff a lot for the Portland Phoenix and other papers, he wrote something one time that like, when I put out a song, it's like you pull a lever on like a slot machine and you don't know what's going to come out. Yeah. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to get, because I think I had put out like a almost like alt country song with the Mallet Brothers band, and then I'd put out like a rap diss or something. Yeah. And he's like, you literally don't know what you're gonna get from Spose, and I like that, because a lot of my favorite artists, David Bowie, Kanye West, the Smashing Pumpkins, Prince, like you don't know what the next album's gonna sound like, and that's what I fucking love that, because like, why would you be the same person you were 2 years ago? Unfortunately, society's not like that quick, and they're not like, unless you're like one of the bigger artists ever, where they're going wherever you're going. One of the things I love the most is that got me into this band. This band's been one of my favorite bands the last few years, is the Arctic Monkeys. Yeah. I'd never really been much into them before, but I'd heard, now I'm like obsessed. But like they had a really huge album called AM in 2013, 14. and they became like the biggest band in the world. They had like all these big hits and so like the biggest band in the world playing arenas, and they followed it up with this album called Tranquility Base Casino and Hotel. And it's like jazz, lounge, outer space rock. And I thought that's what made me an Arctic Monkeys fan. Was I was like, that's fucking badass. That's like punk rock.
Yeah, yeah.
To be
No,
like,
I know that album.
To be like, oh, you guys all love us for this, but here's what we're doing now, and you either like it or you don't. And so, I don't know. Musically, I think the early Spose stuff was me trying to like prove I was a competent rapper and like trying to represent my town as if I was as like ardently as Jay-Z would rep Brooklyn or Outkast would rep Atlanta. And I think I accomplished that to a certain degree.
Definitely accomplished that.
And then my goal was to be, I don't know if I had a goal so much, but I just always want to make stuff that makes me excited. Like if it doesn't, it's like if someone just was like, hey, duplicate this video you just did, but just like change a couple things. You're like, okay, but.
It's tough too because it's like subjective. So and even for yourself, it's like, on a Saturday, you might be like, oh, I love this song. And then like on the Sunday right after, you're like, oh, listen to it again. And you're like, I feel like, oh, I have a different idea. And you just run in a different direction. It changes that quick sometimes with creating.
Another reality of it that I think a lot of artists have probably struggled with is I've thought so many times, I haven't maybe thought this in like 10 years because I've stopped thinking this, but like early in my career, I was like, oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
This song's the one. I'm like, this is going to blow. This is going to be huge. And in a way, it's never the thing you think it is going to blow.
Yeah.
That blows. It's like.
Except for every once in a rare while. Maybe.
I've tried to detach myself from results.
Yes.
You know, it's like you can't, like, what am I going to do? Once I put it, even I'm Awesome, which becomes very massive, like it's out of my control. It's like that I made it thinking one thing and it becomes, you know, a whole nother thing in the hands of the world. So I try to not even, I'm like, did I have fun making this? That's what I was talking about with Blanket. It's like, did I have fun making it? Yes. Do I enjoy listening to it? Yes. Success.
That's it.
That's it. There's really beyond that, anything is like completely out of my control and I can't call it because I'm certainly not trying to make the thing the people like that might be the most successful that the people will digest. Like I could have made 1 million comedy rap songs. I'd probably be huge. You know, it's like I don't know, but like I think for me, it's like you really realizing that like, oh, if it pleases me, that's like a success.
Yeah.
You know, it's like kind of freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it totally is. I know what you're talking about.
Like, cause I mean, I imagine with you, it's like certain things you really loved and are proud of are maybe not the things that blew up the most.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Underrated projects.
Like your creepy murderer dude videos. Who's that guy? Machete?
Oh, dude, yes.
Like you love that shit.
Yeah.
Love that shit.
Machete.
Is he here?
No. He passed away.
Wow, I'm so sorry that he passed away.
I'm so grateful.
But I'm happy to bring it up because
I'm grateful he existed and I appreciate every moment I had with him.
You made the craziest shit with Machete. That I saw.
Yeah, which is my friend Dan, who
shout out Dan.
He passed away last almost a year ago. It's coming up.
But it is to say that's like emotionally close to you and something you're proud of and something you like that is not like as many views as the K-pop videos or the token videos.
I've actually been because his brother, Dan's brother, because it's kind of weird, obviously, for me to go back because we have this. He's rapped for shooting that project, by the way.
Oh, really?
Like I have all the footage of him rapped. So
so there's more to do. There was
more to do, and we were doing it. So and it was obviously I put it on, you know,
on hold.
On hold for obvious. I felt a little weird about it, even looking at it for a minute. And then his brother contacted me actually recently. It was like, we have to finish this.
Oh, sick. Well, I'm glad because I know you were. Well, and it's like
beautiful.
You're also, I don't know, man. There's all sorts of stuff that just like you realize that. Well, essentially the game is capitalism, and like what succeeds the most is like the thing everybody loves you for and the thing that pays your bills and
Yeah.
whatever. So it's easy to think that's like what matters. And I certainly have got caught up in that many times, but like really you could just make yourself happy.
Yeah. And other people, you know, people matter too. Like
Sure.
obviously. And it's cool to like be working with people that you like and that you
Right.
can have collaborations with, and then, you know, make them happy too, and
Right.
kind of rise together. It's like this.
It is really one moment that comes to mind when you say that is like during the pandemic, obviously, like we were all like secluded and by ourselves. And I don't think I'd like hung out with anybody for 6 months or something. Like I hadn't been around people, and we were gonna do, I got, you know, then they started doing like live stream shows like in an empty venue. And so like I did a couple of those, but before I did them, we got up for the first time to rehearse.
Mm.
And I think it was one of my favorite moments of my entire music career was this rehearsal. Cause just to be around the guys and like play the songs and like feel, I don't know, to be in the room with people and like feel like that was a success. It was just a rehearsal.
Yeah.
But it was like that's like a successful moment. I was like, oh, I think I just love music. I think I just love playing music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without the how many tickets did it sell? What's the
Yeah. Yeah.
did it do more views than Token's video? You know?
Never.
Never will. I never will. I should diss him.
Yeah, you should. You did
I
totally.
should diss him. It's the
Man,
only
that would
way
be
I'll be
awesome.
able to
Write a whole
compete.
diss track against Token. He would love it.
I know. He wouldn't even have to respond though. He's like, but bring it, bitch.
Yeah, he's talented. He's obviously very, very
Super
amazing.
crazy talented.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, clearly just love him.
Well, but him and you also, like I've kind of learned, he comes in like with ideas. Like it's not like you're
For sure.
like he comes in, is like I would imagine even for like specific lines.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Oh,
what if at
dude,
this line we did this?
You know, a lot of people like have, you know, shared like the director credit with me, the artist. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like including you. Like no,
I did. I might have done a little
not to-
directing. Yeah.
But that really generally speaking, you know, that's like the concept, you know, creation, like the
Yeah.
writing of it, and then everything. Token is like a person who is actually legitimately a director.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I want a wide lens, you know, and like you know, I see the camera moving this way, and like I want to, you know,
Such a skill, bro. It's such
Yeah, like-
and it's such a talent that's going to help any artist to be. I think I think one of the things I've learned is that like very successful artists or artists who you know are almost never successful on accident.
yeah,
You know, there's this stigma that people are like, oh, well, they have a team or they have a with this. There's a video on YouTube, and maybe I've brought this up to you before because I brought it up a few times, but there's a video on YouTube of Beyonce, who a lot of people would think like, oh, Beyonce must have like a whole team. And sure, she does, but Beyonce is the boss of that team. And Beyonce is like, I think she's about to shoot a video and she's printing out like from she's sitting on the ground. There's a laptop and like a USB printer.
Oh, yeah.
And she's printing reference images from the printer and tacking them like on the wall. And I think there's artists, you know, all up and down the level of success spectrum that like, that's why they're successful is because they do all the shit.
yes,
They come in with it's not like,
Yes.
hey, I'm Beyonce, here's the song, figure it out. It's like, I'm Beyonce and this is the outfits and this is the shots and that's the lens and let me see that shot.
some people just have the drive more than others, and I love it. I personally love it. Like as
Mhm.
as a video director working with an artist, I always am appreciative when the artist actually like brings a whole their whole self to the table.
Right.
Because when artists don't do that and they kind of like, well, what do you think? You're the genius. Like you do
Ugh.
everything for me, and
Yeah.
or do what? We'll go off your ideas. Then it's like,
And then maybe it ends up you send them an
Okay, you
edit
know.
and it doesn't,
it,
it's not what they wanted or the end product maybe isn't the best thing to represent their brand because it doesn't have their whole fucking
or maybe
heart
my,
in it.
or maybe my ideas are amazing and you know
And
incredible, but it's just not exactly what they feel in their heart or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, it is. I've struggled for a long time to try to like convey what I mean by the Spose brand.
Yeah.
Like I've tried so hard to like dial it in, but
like every song you've brought up just now, as you've been like, I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I don't.
It's like what you always keep saying.
It's like
I feel like that is the brand.
yeah, the brand is I have no idea what it is,
That's
and
a
I just
great-
wake up and make a song.
I'm telling you, that's a great brand. You know what I mean?
They're like, what? Describe it in 1 year. I'm
You
like,
just
I
have
don't
to
know.
You just have to own that.
But I think, you know, in my mind, like, I guess like the Spose brand in a sentence is dark suburbia. Like it's like the dark side of like really nice mowed lawns and like almost like the Black Hole Sun video by Soundgarden. Like if you remember that,
Yeah,
where there's like,
definitely,
it's like suburbia, but they're like oozing from the mouth and stuff
Mhm.
because crazy stuff goes on in those houses. Like crazy trauma or fun or
really?
sadness or funny stuff or relationships and like
especially in Maine. What's in the water there, dude? I'm just kidding.
Lobsters.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's what I've always tried to convey with Spose is like all aspects of this like dark side of suburbia, which sometimes isn't dark. Like sometimes it's fun and it's cool and it's funny and it's like whatever. I don't know if I've hit the nail on the head over the years, and I don't know if fans would agree that that's what the Spose brand is. But that's what the fuck I was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I think the Spose brand is that you can't just figure out what the Spose brand is.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my opinion.
Someday.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Sometimes it's dark suburbia.
Yeah.
I don't think that's every time.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think of like my first album, I have a song called Fuck It, which maybe you'd heard back in the day.
Yep.
But it's like that song to me was like really encapsulated the whole thing. It was like the beats, like it's a sample that people know, and it's like which nobody's ever sued me for. And it's like this really upbeat kind of like almost like you're driving through suburbia. But the lyrics are about 12-year-olds with fake IDs and what is it? Suburban living where the blunts and half pipes be quite abundant. Nightlife is unlively. My glove compartment has Febreze and Visine. VCR TV combo, not widescreen. Just like just describing our life. But it was like and there's like it's like like kids in my school had just like killed themselves. It's like teen suicide, no need for Kevorkian, you know. But it sounds fun and upbeat. So it's like it's dark, but it's you know.
That's some of the best stuff. It's when it's really dark stuff, but it's presented in a fun, dancey way.
Right. I think when you give it to them if you make them feel what it really should feel like, nobody wants to hear that. You know, it's like there's a way to convey. That's honestly what I've struggled with. Like Humans is a great example of that. Like that's dark.
Yeah, right.
But like
it's essentially a song about all the animals getting
it's a song about
murdered
humans.
by humans.
All the animals getting murdered by humans and the other humans getting murdered by humans.
Right.
You know, and so that basically we're the most dangerous animal on earth, which we are. And but it's presented in this like fun kind of dancey song, and same with World War Blues, which is about how we're an imperial war empire, but it's a dance song, you know? And I think that's, those are things I'm super proud of because they are right what I'm saying. It's dark suburbia.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Brings me back to thinking about Bowie because you obviously saw his like last videos, I assume.
I think I did watch for Lazarus or whatever on the Black Star.
Yes.
I think it was called Black Star. The last album.
Yeah. Those two things were like,
that's tough. Tough to watch
because that was like he was dying and actively dying and like made these pieces of art, music videos, and art and music, and they are similarly like he's doing little dances and
it's dark and he's presenting some sort of like almost like the human spirit giving its last attempt, or something.
Yeah. Those are some of my honestly favorite videos all time. I would even go as far to say.
Damn, I'll have to rewatch them. I remember when it came out, but I remember feeling like profoundly like troubled about the album because I really love David Bowie. But the album is so dark, obviously, and but in the spirit of David Bowie, it sounds nothing like any other David Bowie album. Still, to like
Absolutely
literally
true.
his deathbed was like, and something new.
Yeah.
Some new. I mean, there really hadn't been a Bowie album that had that kind of like, almost like improv jazz type of shit on top of these, I guess, tracks, beats. I don't know what you call them, but like, shout out David Bowie, man.
Shout out David Bowie, dude.
I know he's,
Legend.
I know he is a taboo subject at this point, but like David Bowie, Kanye West are like my two favorite like spirit animals in a way in the music. As
So
far
you
as
hate Jewish people.
yeah, so I don't. So I have some
I'm just
Jewish
kidding.
friends. I like Token.
Token likes Kanye is like one of Token's favorite artists.
Oh, really?
If not his
Yeah, yeah.
favorite, actually.
I don't like
Weird.
Israel. If I could just say that on the record,
Yeah.
so you can
can
edit
say
that clip
anything-
together.
You can say anything you want.
I don't. I think the United States and Israel are terrorist nations. However, lots of great Jewish friends, and there's plenty of great things to say about that. But why? What did we say? Oh, Kanye.
Yeah.
Kanye. That's I was like, what threw me totally off.
Speaking of Kanye,
But bringing up Kanye. But I like that they're fearless musically. I like that you don't know what you're gonna get. You know?
he's just like being, he goes out there and does the thing that is just like almost the most ignorant thing sometimes too,
Right.
which is kind of in a way refreshing. That's like what Machete was.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
literally,
What's
that
the
was-
most shocking or the most?
That was our rule with Machete is what's the most ignorant possible thing we can think of.
I have regrets sometimes about music videos where I was like, oh, we should have taken that way farther.
Yeah.
We should have done the thing way more brutal and way more crazy. Or
I'm always pushing to try and take it to that place.
It was like when We All Got Lost and we had the contestants on the game show, and one of them, the prize we gave someone was cancer.
Yeah.
And I remember like debating, like, is that too hard?
Yeah.
Is that like too fucked up? But like, We All Got Lost is another example of like something that sounds upbeat, but
That's also
dark.
like, that's the one we did together.
Yeah.
And I also love that one.
Me too.
And mainly I love that one because of the message of it.
I'm proud of that.
So relatable message.
Yeah. That song, if I could have a song if I could switch out I'm Awesome for a song, I think I would pick We All Got Lost.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what I do. Like that is musically unique. I remember, I think I called the beat, when I made that beat, I called it Springsteen Yeezus. Just because like you name it, like I've been listening to Springsteen, I've been listening to whatever. And, but like I think that song's like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Which, for those that don't know, that song is about basically
your 20s.
Thinking, your 20s, but thinking like, oh, I'm gonna, be in this position when I'm
by this age.
And then you don't get there. And then
you feel like a failure.
Right.
And it's to say, hey, it happens to all of us, is essentially the song.
It's just such a great, beautiful song.
Thank you, man. I remember after I made my first album, I was like, now I want to make an album about everybody. Because I made it in my first album, I was like, I made an album about myself. And then I'm Awesome blows up. My whole life goes in a different direction. But like my thought was, okay, now I'd like to make an album about everybody.
Yeah.
And I think We All Got Lost is that.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, man.
It's great.
Yeah, that is the center of the Spose rectangle.
Yeah.
That. There's another song called Knocking on Wood that's pretty close to that. Because it's got to have guitars, I guess, to be authentically Spose in a way. Or at least be...
Well, depending on the day.
Depending on the day. Because I do love rap beats, as well. So
yeah, you might want to switch it up to however you feel. I mean, then that's fine, and you should.
Yeah.
You shouldn't put any boundaries on anything, in my opinion.
That video is a great example of us being resourceful with like what we had. Obviously, we pulled in a bunch of extras and we did whatever, but like there's like a almost like concert scene in the end, and we just shot that in the basement.
Well, the extras that we pulled in were your fans.
Yes.
You made a post that basically is saying like, hey, it was like a last minute thing, like, hey, fans of
tomorrow
me, we're shooting
a
video, and so all those people were stoked to be there.
Yeah,
and I feel like we're having a great day, and that made it.
The vibe was good.
That was a great,
I think you also keep the vibe good. Like the vibe, I just remember the vibe was good all along. And then you had like random, maybe like people living at the studio at that point, and I went to play video games in their like room. Maybe you were living there too.
That was probably you're probably thinking of Paul and Carolina, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. It was fun. I remember.
Maybe.
I remember
Or
it being
maybe-
fun.
Or maybe I don't know. There's that studio, the old mill.
Yeah, in Manchester.
Yeah. That was like a saga,
Yeah,
a whole era.
yeah. It was. I mean, you did a ton of dope stuff there. That's where I kind of collaborated with you. I think. What was the first video we ended up doing?
I believe it was We All Got Lost.
Okay, yeah. What a sick one to do.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's honestly one of my probably top videos I've ever made.
Thanks, man.
I think.
Take that, K-pop.
I like the message.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah. I'm really proud of that one. It's like if I like at the end of the day, like if I could be known for like a couple things, like those songs you've brought up, like Humans, We All Got Lost. Like that's what I've been trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
You know what's funny is I was thinking the other day about how I was looking through my Chat GPT analytics of my songs. I was like, wow, I've actually never put any sort of content ever out about some of these.
Yeah.
Like there's album songs that I never made a video for. I never posted a reel of it. I've never done maybe I perform it live, but like it is to say it's kind of cool that in modern times, a song from 10 years ago could have a life. Whereas before, when I first got in the music industry, it was we're on to the next song. We're on to the next song. And we never go back and think about your old shit.
Yeah.
So I like that. There's old stuff I have that could have a life. I try not to be too attached to the results, but you can't help but like read the comments, I guess, at a certain level. And like just
everyone does
even
it.
today, somebody this guy is like looks like a football coach or something, but he was like, this song I have called Any Minute. He goes, I just want to say your song Any Minute puts me in perspective whenever I'm feeling like whatever. And I'm like,
that's
it's
why
so
I do
nice.
this.
It's so nice. It's such a nice bonus because like I needed Any Minute when I made it, and I made it for me. I liked how it felt when I heard it in the car. So when that translates to help someone else, it's always that's the shit.
Yeah. That's
That's
kind of like
shit
the
right
Rick
there.
Rubin thing, right? It's like if you make the thing for yourself, then it's ultimately going to be the best thing for everybody else.
Right. Well, and also when you're making it for yourself, you are your true vibrational, authentic self. So that's going to resonate with people more,
Yeah. That's true. And maybe that's even the more important part of it, right? Is just that if you can have some kind of authenticity in the music, because you can feel when music is authentic or not. You just can feel it.
Sure.
It's almost like this subconscious thing that happens where you're looking or listening, I should say, for the human in there, and then
yeah, and I think
sometimes
sometimes
you
you
find
don't
it or
even
not.
know that. Like you don't know obviously they don't know you're listening for that, but you relate to like and I mean, I guess to give it credit, that's like part of the reason I'm Awesome was got such a reaction out of people and became such a thing is because I was saying real things they hadn't heard said before.
Yeah.
Like nobody's really talking about how McDonald's is cheaper than Subway. We all know it.
Yeah.
We all knew it,
Dude, you know what was something really profound that my friend Walter actually said this to me, because I'm working on a bunch of writing on stuff and doing specifically fictional character writing stuff, and
Cool.
he was I was talking to him about it, and something that he said that I just thought was very profound is that people who are watching, in this case movies, but you could apply it to anything,
Mhm.
are always the most what's the word I'm looking for? Drawn in when there's a choice for the character to make.
Wow.
Because it gives the person who is watching or listening or whatever the ability to then make what their choice would be in that.
Wow, yeah. And then
and it's
based on what the
engaging.
character does, they have a feeling about the character,
Yeah.
or they understand the character a little more, or
Yeah, and then like I swear, like right after he said that to me, I went and put on Squid Games season 2,
right, and that's all choices.
and I was like, "There's a choice presented in this show, every single line of dialogue, just about
wow.
like it was
Yeah,
amazing."
how will you respond? Yeah, that's interesting.
How many choices there were in that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's why it's a hit." Like all it like kind of clicked. Like that's why maybe that's why Squid Games is Squid Games.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it really blew my mind in a way because I didn't ever really think of I never really think of it like that before until like really and it's such a simple thing. It's like a thing that, kind of it's kind of obvious, it makes sense, but
Right.
when you're writing, sometimes if it's presented in a way where they're able to decide between black and white versus, they're just automatically leaning into going, going black or whatever, and then it's like
That's engaging to the
that little adjustment makes everybody the dilemma of the choice makes everybody
draws people in. There's
Yeah.
so much psychology that goes into writing, not only like for TV, but like novels or like anything like that to develop these characters. And I realized kind of late I never really had a chance to write something like that much in my early life, but you realize I read a book about writing for TV and how every show's got 3 acts. And like, I didn't realize how there's pretty much a formula to make us care.
Yeah.
There's a formula to make us give a shit
Yeah.
about
A lot of people call that the hero's journey, right?
the hero's journey. Right. And
Or
so
that's like one app.
I have this
thing.
like, one of my like life goals is to write this, essentially like a Harry Potter, Hunger Games type of like
Sick.
young adult novel series.
Sick.
And I have always had this idea, and I've started writing it before, and I have like a character who's the star of it, and obviously there has to be all these other subsequent characters and the bad guy. And as soon as I got ChatGPT, I was like, "Can you write the hero's journey plot points for this story that I summarized in like a paragraph?" And it's like, yeah.
Could you give me like a really quick synopsis of what
Yes, it's
that is?
about a girl who, I don't want to say her name because you bitches will steal it. But it's about basically a girl who, in my mind, this is like 300, 400 years in the future, who lives on like the 4th colony on the moon that we've tried.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
Because there's other ones that are destroyed or vacant, or so we think.
Yeah.
And she basically lives in the slum, and she understands the world to be one thing, which is the home world, the first section of the hero's journey, where
Yeah.
you introduce them to her home world. And then obviously the hero has to leave her home world. So she leaves the slum to go to the capital moon city, and then has to leave there to go to Earth, which she believes to be, she's been taught, is destroyed and abandoned. But she receives, information. Basically, like, I know the whole story, but like, it's kind of cool because your character does not. And a series of choices and things along the way will lead them to essentially realize all these, that the world they knew at the home world is a lie. And when she makes it back to the home world, which is the return or whatever, that you return with the elixir is what it's called in Hero's Journey. When she returns, she now knows way more than they wanted her to know, and she can fuck their whole shit up.
Yeah.
And so it's basically like I envision like a teenage badass, almost like science whiz genius who takes down the evil empire, evil capitalist, moon empire, who's killing her people and destroying their homes to get like the minerals underneath,
Yeah.
whatever, for profit, because it's essentially, I don't know. Become very anti-capitalist in my like later years. And so this is like a reflection of that like view, but through the perspective of a fucking badass teenage girl who has to start off not so badass and not so confident and not so, so by the time and then you also have minor characters, the old, Groot maybe is the best example of this. Like, you have a character who doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
Who almost never says a word, who throughout the whole story, her like friend is like barely ever saying anything. But in that big fucking moment when shit really when you think she's dead, this character steps up and says like a speech to rally the troops and like, so shit like that. So I've like kind of done a lot of studying of like the hero's journey and the story arc. And I did go to college to be a writer. So it's like,
Oh,
I
wow.
definitely
did not know that.
I went to be an English major was like what I ended up doing. And so I feel like I'm a competent writer. I don't think I'm great, but I just would love to at some point spend a year or two.
Well, you got to manifest that you're
I'm
great.
a great writer.
Yeah,
No, I'm
exactly.
being modest. I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty fucking good. Well,
you're obviously good at writing music.
Right. And that's
know.
honestly like not really one of my top skills in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's in the writing category.
Right. And I did start off as a writer. When I was 10 years old, I wrote album reviews for the local newspaper. So like I've been writing forever, and I really do feel like I'm good at expressing myself in writing. But I've never really wrote much fiction. I did take a couple fiction classes in fiction writing in college, but like writing a fucking novel is tough. So I do want to write a almost like test novel before I write that one, because like that idea is fire.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean, the hero's journey is pretty tried and true. It's Star Wars, it's Harry Potter, it's like whatever. I know the hero's journey in a way, and I know that shit'll pop if I write it right. But I don't know how, I've never written a novel before. So I'd like to write a test novel.
Yeah.
About something else.
Yeah, just write anything.
Yeah. There's this thing called NaNoWriMo, I think it's called. And it's like National Authors. Basically, it's write a novel in the month of November.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's like a formula, and you basically try to write a novel in a month, and you're not precious about it. You're not like editing every paragraph to be perfect. You try to write the whole story.
Yeah, just kind of like a method that keeps you accountable. And
there are books that are like out in stores that people know that started as these NaNoWriMo books or whatever. But if you go through like my Instagram, it's like, you know how like Instagram tailors the feed to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's like, I've got all my like music industry stuff, all my main stuff. There's definitely like asses. And then there's like tons of like writing tips for like writing, how to world build and how to like you get the details right for a certain type of scene, and like so
moose, girl's butt, writing tips.
Scroll back up. Writing tips. Yeah. That's pretty much my Instagram feed. But I really have been collecting information and skills to use when I do eventually write a novel, which I think is a dope like late life thing. Like I could write that when I'm 50 or whatever. Same with painting. Like I think rapping or music is like a young man's game. So I've tried to take these other kind of little skills I have, and so I can transition gracefully to being like a reclusive hermit in my later years.
Man, sometimes you just got, I always say it's just about taking the first step. Like if you just write one word, then you're going to write that first sentence. And then if you write that first sentence, you're going to write that first paragraph. And then you're going to be like, wait a minute, I have an idea.
I call it jump in the pool. It's like, you know, when you're like halfway in the pool, like you jump off the thing, there's no way to get back to the thing. You're going to land in the pool. So it's like, it might not be graceful, it might not whatever, but like you got to jump. And you're right. I do often like pull up my notes app or wherever, or there's like a word processor app on Pages. Pull up the Pages app on the iPhone, and I'll start writing just little vignettes of like her arriving in like the big moon city for the first time because she's from the slum. So what would that feel like to her?
Yeah.
You know? And then
you should do a painting of it too.
I guess I've never done a painting of it. I have used ChatGPT to like make visualizations of it. Can you make a movie poster for it? And it'll do that. Yeah. And so, but I've realized one of the things about this is we're so deep down this. I don't know if anybody cares about this, but we're so deep down this rabbit hole now.
Everybody cares about
everybody. I've realized that to write something 400, 300 years in the future, you almost need to write the future of our time, like as a history. Like it's her history, but it's our future.
Yeah.
And so I've written basically like, okay, well, what had to happen for these other? So I have to write this whole backstory of essentially every character and how they got there. And I ended up inventing this character who I was like, damn, that could be a book. Like this girl's,
Yeah.
like this character who by the time we get to the story I want to write, she's vilified as this like horrific, evil person who no one would ever want to be like that. But like when you actually go and you know her history, she's actually like one of the most brilliant inventors and like badasses of all time who took down like the American empire, and that's why you know, she's a rebel. You don't want to make people believe in a badass rebel because then they might become a badass rebel. And so basically that truth gets uncovered by our protagonist.
There's also the fact that the world is changing at such a rapid pace that, you know, there might be 9 moons, you know, in 3 months from now. And
And and I mean, and I have no idea what the future is going to be. So this is just fan fiction of like, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's fun to go that way, man.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Maine. Tell me 3 fun facts about Maine from Spose and sorry, it's like a very annoying question.
No, it sounds clickable.
But tell me 3 fun facts from Spose of Maine that I wouldn't know.
Okay. We have no billboards. I don't know if that's known.
I did not know that.
We
so
have
that's
no
beautiful.
billboards. You're not advertising shit
That's
in Maine.
crazy, actually. Wait, what do you mean there's no billboards? There's no what about signs? Like
there's like street signs.
Where's the line?
Maybe like a yard sign, like you could put like a political sign in your yard or something, but there's no billboards anywhere.
Okay, yeah, that's fascinating. All right.
That's my first fun fact about Maine. I guess my second fun fact about Maine is that we're like where I live in Maine. Obviously, Maine's like 7 hours long. So like you could drive in Maine for like if you were to leave where I live in Wells and drive 7 hours, you're in like Maryland.
Yeah.
If you drive 7 hours north, you're still in Maine. So I guess that's a fun fact. But like where I live in Maine is like 1 hour and 10 minutes from Boston. And I don't think people really realize like how close everything in New England is like proximity wise. I don't know if that counts as a fun fact, but I always think it's like people are like, oh, you're from Maine. It must be so far. I'm like, no, I'm like, I'll be home.
I know this. So.
Yeah, I guess you're from New Hampshire. So
I've been to Wells.
Other fun facts about Maine. It sucks. Don't come there. You know, is my main thought. It sucks and it's terrible. We don't have anything really. So stay away. There's just so many people coming to Maine in the summer, so that was my
you're just trying to get them away.
That was my deterrent.
I see.
I don't know. I mean, I will say this is just like, I don't know if it's a fact or whatever, but like we have such a great music scene in Maine. And I think that's one of the main reasons I always knew I could like pursue music.
Yeah.
Is because like when I was growing up, there was like 3 or 4 artists signed to like major labels from Maine, like the Rustic Overtones, Dave Gutter's band. This band, Jeremiah Freed, was signed to the label I ended up signing to, Republic. This rapper, Poverty, was signed and made like an album with like Alchemist and Jay Dilla and stuff that I don't know if it ever came out, but like there was dope music from Maine. So I was really sure that I could do it, you know? Yeah. And now to this day, the biggest songwriter on earth, Amy Allen, who writes all the Sabrina Carpenter and all the whatever the biggest songs on the fucking radio are, Bruno Mars and I forget the girl from Blackpink's name.
Lisa?
Rose?
Or is that what it is?
Might be Rose. I don't know. Oh. Either way, Amy Allen wrote that. So she's from Maine. And so like we have I guess it'd be a fun fact that we have a crazy fucking talented, music scene in Maine besides the King of Maine.
Yeah.
So
which is you.
Which is me.
Just so everyone knows.
Just if you were unaware.
Dude, that's sick. And you've more recently you've launched like a marijuana brand.
Correct.
Right? Which is called P-Dank, which goes really well with your original music brand.
Right. So my first album was called Preposterously Dank, and my weed brand is just called Preposterously. And because I just wanted to make sure whatever it was, you could wear it on a shirt. To high school.
Yeah.
And like it's something I could advertise with I didn't want to say weed or cannabis or like whatever.
Right,
it's just
right.
Preposterously. And that's been, and so I launched that. Basically, it's available all throughout the state of Maine at mad stores. And that's been a whole new experience for me because like I've never done sales.
Yeah.
I've never done product
Yeah.
really. Like I've maybe done CDs, I guess, but like this is a whole different scale. And I've learned a lot about labor versus your time. Like I know that for this brand to work, even if it's making money, I can't be spending 10 hours a day on this
Right.
because my time is worth more than this.
Right.
You know, so it's been a big understanding of like all sorts of shit, but like very difficult to get off the ground. And I started it with some people I kind of trusted their medical weed brand already.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know them. They're friends of mine. Frank, the barber who owns a bunch of barbershops.
Oh yeah. I feel like I've heard of Frank.
Maybe
the
met
Barber.
Frank the barber. He's
Or
a rapper
met
too,
him?
low key.
Yeah.
But like Frank and Damien run a grow, and I'd been fumbling around with different people for years trying to start like a weed company because it's just kind of synonymous with my brand, and weed was about to be legal in Maine recreationally.
Right.
Because we've always had medicinal weed.
Yeah.
And so,
well, Maine was one of the first recreational states.
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe not the first.
I think like
Colorado,
California and
was first,
Colorado and stuff, and we're somewhere in there. But we
but Maine was really quick after.
I'm a few years late on this because honestly, this is something I've been scheming on since like we first linked up 2017, 2018. I was printing out labels and putting them on packaging and like trying to figure out what it is.
I'm curious about it because being around music industry stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are like, I should do
a weed brand, or a brand, or you mean, or specifically weed?
Yeah, just like a lot of people are into that business. It seems like a booming business, and
I think you could get into it as like for me, this is a little different than if I like endorsed a brand or like a brand was like, almost like as if it was like like I'm superficially involved. Like I'm actually in there putting weed in jars.
Yeah.
And I'm like designing the jars, and I'm like filling out applications, and I'm going into stores and meeting with the buyer to be like, hey, I'm Spose.
This is the same way you are with your music. Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, so I'm very hands-on.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much already. Like like anything, the first time you do it, you're going to learn so much.
What's like a crazy thing that you've learned?
Well,
like one crazy thing.
I mean, I guess I don't know if I could break it down to one crazy thing, but I would say that like the whole thing, I was so scared to get into this industry because I was like, I don't know. And then I got into it, and I was so relieved when I realized it's just people.
Yeah, everything.
The buyers are just people. I was like, oh, I'm great with people, and so it's just people and relationships. And so I have learned tons of stuff about weed specifically, and like strain. Like I don't think going into this, I was like, I've always been like, weed's always been like a peripheral thing of my music and like in our lives. And like Wells, Maine is a thing. There's weed, and it brought you together with people you wouldn't normally hang out with. And there's adjectives and words only because of it, and like places you'd only go because it was a safe place to smoke weed or like whatever. And so I've learned so much about but I was always like, weed is weed. Like I'm not worried about like what strain it is. I don't give a shit if it's indica or sativa. I don't give a fuck if it's like, I was not particular. I was just like, weed, cool. Is it the more expensive weed? Cool. Cheaper weed, okay. And now I'm like very like, open it up, smell it. I'm like looking at it. But that helps me with my end of the job, which is marketing it. And so I'm designing all the packaging. I just drove last night to pick up mock-ups of the labels for the next strains, to put them on jars, to see how they look, to take some pictures of them on my camera to see how I'm going to brand it. And I think I've learned a lot about weed, and also the way our weed industry works in Maine, which is unique to maybe others.
Yeah.
Like there's all sorts of specific shit.
Like what's the one to like walk me through like, okay, like I'm going to start a company.
You start a weed company in Maine?
No, well, I'm not, but maybe I am.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just saying for this example.
Yeah, but walking me through like step 1, 2, 3. Like, what do? You got to go to the
So first of all, you have to create like an LLC,
Right.
you know, for your business. And shout out to my friend Jay Spin, who kind of like invested with me to start this. And we start an LLC, and the next thing we got to do is we got to get IIC cards from the state so we can touch weed,
Okay.
you know, which is just like a license.
Okay.
And so you apply for the license, you pay a fee, you get this license, and then you can be in the industry. It's essentially just like a fee to do any business.
Yeah. Standard.
And then
state
from
stuff.
the wild thing is all the weed in the rec industry, the recreational industry in Maine is tested. It has to go to testing. And it has to pass for mold or chemical, has to pass all these things. And the medical weed in Maine, the medical like industry does not.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes no sense.
It doesn't make
because
sense.
it's supposed to be medicinal.
Yeah. That's
so the
literally
recreational
opposite of
stuff,
what you would think.
the fun weed has to be tested. And so once it's grown, we send it off to testing. We wait 10 days. And our first harvest, one of the 2 strains we grew failed testing. So we had to destroy half a room of weed, like $20,000 worth of weed.
Now that would have been a sick music video. You know,
destroying all the weed.
Yeah, you should have hit me up, and I would have told you.
We could have come in. It would be sad to watch.
It would have been also amazing visually to see.
I guess so. Yeah. So we had to destroy it. Like,
how did
on
you destroy
video?
That much?
I don't really want to get into it, to be honest, because it's like I'm
So
like
you already had to do it on video.
Yeah, I'm like, I already did. You have to talk to the OCP. They have it. And then the process of packaging is a bitch. I mean, we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, one harvest. Our rooms are moderately sized at this point. We're starting out, and we'll expand. But you know, every harvest is like 6,000 glass jars.
Yeah. Wow.
That I never ordered bulk jars that come on a truck with a forklift and like, you know, I'd never done all that shit before. And then every jar needs a label on it. That's a lot. Like my thumbs hurt.
Yeah.
You know, like I was doing the labor, and you learn. But now I've learned, okay, it would afford me a lot more time and less injury if I am to outsource the stickering to someone else and pay them for that, for their time. And so, you know, I'm adapting and figuring it out. But for me, especially as music has become worth $0 for every song ever, essentially, or like $9.99 a month for every song ever. I've just felt the need to diversify into product or something that runs out. I wish I could sell CDs still, and I'd sell my CD, and in a month it explodes, and you have to come buy it again.
Yeah, it's just
You
not
know,
the
that would be
90s
dope.
anymore, man.
No, exactly. And so there's no, I mean, to be honest, if somebody was like, hey, my buddy's a musician, could you give him some advice to like succeed? And I'm like, yeah, do anything else. Go to any other industry, because every other industry, no matter what you do, is worth money.
Yeah.
You know, sadly, you can still make money off music, and there certainly are people, and I am, but like, I'd be scared to enter an industry where you got to do 1 million streams to make.
If you're coming from a business-minded perspective, the music industry is probably not a good.
Make some songs. Make some songs. Play them for your friends. Don't
Yeah.
enter the music industry. Is my advice. But like,
work for a label, apparently.
I guess that's go work for a label. Find who's ever already blowing up on TikTok and then sign them.
Yeah.
But this has been, I think, one of the things I've always loved, man, is like product design.
Yeah. Art,
graphic design. And when I got into this, I spent a couple years buying everybody else's weed and like going to all the stores and seeing what the experience was like. And I think that prepared, because, you know, I hate to jump into anything without information.
Yeah.
And so I went and bought everybody's stuff, and I was like, okay, well, if this is the competition, I think I can design better stuff than this. Visually, because I think I'm down
I feel
to.
like is a huge part of the.
Well, the way people interact with
game,
stuff is all design. It's all, you know. And I was just listening to the Steve Jobs biography while I was packaging this last harvest, and he talks all about how he wanted even the inside of the computer to look clean and smooth and designed well, even if 99.9% of the people who ever get this product are never opening that up. They're never going to see that. But it's to say, like, you put attention to detail and you try to make the whole experience like feel a certain way, and people feel that, you know, and I'm not doing it
Absolutely.
inauthentically. Like, I really care about it. And I really want it to be, I don't know, I love good design, you know? And I actually, somebody was like, I don't even smoke weed, but I love some good design when I put up the first, and I was like, word, yeah.
That's
And I
awesome.
think, you know, I think also like I want the brand to have like a personality that is beyond just like it's weed,
Yeah.
you know, and give it its own life, which has been a little bit of a struggle for me because the only other brand I've ever done is Spose, which is like 90% me,
Yeah. Right.
you know, so that was obviously like my politics equal Spose's politics, and my music taste equals, so I can share stuff on the Instagram story that's like,
Yeah.
I'm just genuinely feel this. I'm at Dunkin' Donuts. I love this Smashing Pumpkin song. I love, you know, and that is the brand. But like with the weed brand, preposterously, it's been interesting to kind of navigate that because I'm finding what the parameters of that are. Well, we don't have a political stance, you know, essentially. We don't, or our political stance is we don't share politics on the weed page.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
right.
know, or like maybe we share memes, or maybe we relate about this, but we don't share too many memes because we're not meme page. Where you know,
There's
so
a little
it's
more red tape, so to
yeah.
speak.
Maybe you feel it with Studio NH, like it has its own personality that's not exactly you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So that's been interesting to navigate. But the packaging I've tried to instill like almost like a playfulness to it, or like, and also like just give people more than they're paying for. I think that's like another thing I learned from my music is like,
Yeah.
you got to give people better and more than they were expecting for less than they would pay elsewhere.
Yeah, you got to compete.
You know, it's like I start my show on time. I'm doing double the amount of set of anybody else. I'm not rapping over my vocals. I'm like, you know, it's like, and everybody else is, you know, and so it's like so with the weed brand, I think that's something I tried to bring over is like, we are not tricking you. The packaging has cool stuff. We're not even advertising that like you could look on the back and it's like some fun, you know, one of them had a crossword puzzle on it that was things that are purple because it was like purple-ish strain, and like, you know, it even has like little text like because in Maine we low-key kind of hate Massachusetts. And even though we root for all their sports teams.
And Massachusetts hates you.
Right. No, they love us, bro. They're there 24/7. Oh, the whole go drive through Wells in July, and I bet you'll see 10 Massachusetts, Connecticut plates before you ever see a Maine plate.
Yeah.
It's very common. We're a tourist town.
Yeah.
But on the first jar, it said nobody from Massachusetts is secretly making money off this product. Which in Maine, there's a lot of people secretly making Massachusetts money off our Maine weed industry. So it's like little jokes, little stuff that's like fun, and like trying to just give the brand some sort of personality and give people more than they expect, and just not cut any corners. And I'll lose money to give you better jars and better stickers and better weed, you know?
Yeah. Well, you're just inherently a good person. You actually care about people.
I guess that's it. If it was capitalism, and even, I mean, just to give one example, like the stickers I use, the labels on the jars, I've been offered from like 10 different people that they can do my stickers cheaper. But I really like this guy who prints my stickers. And so I'm trying to find a way to stay, you know, with that. And if it ends up, I end up, you know, doing something else. I tried to maintain like the human relationship
that guy's watching this podcast right now sweating.
Shout out my man.
Like,
in spite of capitalism, you know, because capitalism says do the cheapest, you know, I'd be getting jars from China. Well, maybe not now that there's a tariff on China, but I'd be doing, you know, you'd be doing the cheapest thing possible, cutting every corner you could to make the most amount of money, which I've never really done. Even with my music stuff, it's like...
It can backfire real quick when you do that type of stuff.
Or you get so rich, bro.
or you get really rich.
So I don't know, but like the Steve Jobs example, it's like obviously they're one of the biggest companies in the world, and like it just interact. Even if you
That's a great, yeah.
even if you buy an iPhone and you slide it out, and it's like it's all so well engineered.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
experience.
people want something that they're going to be able to just,
Well, you just want an experience that you want to have again.
yeah,
You know,
and just also just understand, like,
easy to understand.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
works.
it
Yeah, it's
just-
simple.
just
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
That's sick, man.
Yeah, I think it's just like kind of like painting or like whatever. I'm just trying to figure out how to adapt as I age. Not age out of the music industry because I'll always make music, but like,
yeah.
but like as I age, I would like to diversify, and I think I'm good at other stuff, and so it's been nice to launch the
No, it makes sense for you, and
launch the weed brand.
Yeah, and it's interesting to say the least, and like it's cool that you're just doing different stuff. Like,
Yeah, I think one of my main skills is I'm a finisher. Like
Yeah.
if I say I'm going to do something, especially if I say to another person I'm going to do something, I'm really good at following through.
great, yeah,
You know, or taking. Or I'm almost not even going to vocalize an idea unless I'm like pretty much done the work to start to make it happen. And I think that's why I've been able to do a bunch of shit that like I don't think I'm as talented as like many other musicians I even know.
no,
But
no,
I work hard. I work super hard, and I'm like I take it to the finish line.
It's a really important philosophy to like finish things
Yeah,
because so many people don't.
it's a huge advantage, man.
It's
that so many
it's
people don't. I mean,
everything almost.
and even like just realizing that like the weed industry's people and like treating people good will work out for you is like so many people just don't treat people good. It's like
Yeah.
it's not that honestly to me it's like not that hard of a thing to do.
Yeah,
But it's like that skill sets us apart too, or whatever. It's like the almost like I was saying earlier, like the competition is going to see themselves out.
right.
It's like because they're gonna cut every corner, they're gonna treat people poorly,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna finish what they said they were gonna do.
Yeah, because they're high on their own supply, dude. That's
Right.
why.
Right? Hey, bars.
Well, sick, dude. Well, I feel like is there anything else that I missed? Did I miss anything?
We got like therapy,
there-
my music career, the kids, weed,
Trying to think, like,
what more?
legitimately, if I missed
Painting,
anything.
my
Jarv.
shout out
I feel
Jarv.
like we
bro.
should shout him out.
Yeah, shout out Jarv. You ended up doing a few more things with
I'm like,
Jarv after.
Jarv.
Shout out Jarv. I'm gonna see Jarv next week. I'm playing a couple shows, and
Oh,
I think
sick.
he's on one of them. I know he's on one of them. Yeah, love. After we did the metal band video, I did a tour with Jarv. We got to play metal band every night. It was just so fun.
Yeah.
Jarv's great, and Jarv's been super.
Jarv is is an amazingly talented rapper. So
Such a good rapper
everybody to know.
and beat maker, and
yeah,
and
he hits the
I wanted to like make a joke about him, but I really don't have any mean things to say about Jarv. I'd just be pretending.
he looks like that guy from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And Jesus. He looks a little like Jesus. Vermont Jesus.
Yeah, like a real stoner Jesus.
But he
vibe.
has, I have noticed he's found a
does he even
niche
smoke?
like out here. I don't know. Found a niche
feel like he
out
doesn't.
here on tour, touring with these like almost like, not like white reggae, but like almost like jam bandy type of things, which go for it.
Mhm.
But like it's so interesting because I don't consider him that type of music at all.
Mm.
But like it fits in that world. It's almost just he's so talented that like no matter what stage you throw him on,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna sound super fun. So
yeah. But anyway, shout out him.
shout out Jarv.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else is there. I think we're pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Spose shirt you wore
yeah.
from the
Oh, yeah,
Self Destruct
Yep.
video, which I directed myself. You can go watch on YouTube.
Well, speaking of this video, didn't your kids like? Am I wrong to say that your kids like were starring or like?
The kids were in the video. Yeah, my kids and the neighbors. I actually had this shot where I'm basically like crucified. It was a drone shot
Yeah.
where I'm laid with I have red, white, and blue rope tied to my feet and my arms. And I had my two daughters in like red, white, and blue dresses. And my neighbor, this little girl, Serena, who's just adorable and sweet,
Yeah.
pulling on these ropes on my arms as I'm in the bomb head with this shot's fire.
Yeah.
I gotta say, as director.
I know the shot.
You know, yeah. So the shot's fire. And I don't know if anybody picked up on all the red, white, basically the pressure of America. And my fucking wrists and ankles hurt for like a month and a half after.
Well, yeah, especially because you had your own kids do that to you.
Right. And they have no I just thought like, oh, they're little girls. They were like maybe like 4 years old. No, it hurt like a bitch. My wrists hurt so bad forever after that.
Yeah, you know.
But like that's a video I directed, and I hired Sarah, Violet, and Tom Couture to be cameras. And I just kind of directed their cameras and edited it all myself. And it's like a weird song and a weird video, but like I'm proud of that one.
Well, it's a sick hoodie.
Thanks, man. And shout out to Louis Rosignol, the artist, who's like famous on TikTok and Instagram, who drew that for me. Another guy from Maine, Louis Rosignol.
Do you only exclusively work with people from Maine?
If anybody comes at me from another state, I'm like, you're gonna have to move here and then resend this email.
As we're sitting inside of Studio NH.
In Maine.
Studio NH, Maine sector.
No, I would love to work with people from all places. It's just the only people who like me are in Maine and maybe some in New Hampshire. So I'm very localized.
Right on, man. Well,
but hey, thank you so much,
dude,
man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here, man.
Can't wait to refill this water because I drank it all like halfway through this podcast.
That's great. You should drink water. Water's good for you.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Especially New Hampshire water.
Yeah, it is nice.
Not Maine water.
Yo, Poland Spring is owned by Nestle. Thank you, guys.